Welcome to the D&D Fitness Radio Podcast, brought to you by your hosts, Don Saladino from New York City and Derek Hansen from Vancouver, Canada.
Dude, you guys listen.
All right, so we're gonna obviously kick it off. So Derek,
Yeah.
I'm
Introduce
excited.
everybody.
I'm going to right now. I'm trying.
Okay, sorry. Don't want to tell you what to do.
We got
Your
we got
podcast,
Andrew
too.
Coates here. Andrew's the mayor of the training world. Would you agree? Luka Hocevar might as well just be my brother. I mean, it's like a carbon copy of.
Pretty much.
I mean, he's like my West Coast guy. I'm the East Coast person. Kelsey might as well just be the female version of us, and it's fantastic. And Dennis is just Den, I gotta be honest, man. I don't think you get enough credit.
Agreed.
Right.
Yeah.
Seriously, in fairness, because Dennis is really, I think, the person that has taken the virtual training business and really has figured out a way to develop it through things like paid spend, social media marketing. He's the one who really taught my wife, Melissa, how to do, it all. And Mel attributes a lot of what she learned to you. So
Dennis is the ghost in the machine.
he's the ghost in the machine, but it really is. And
but he's a buff ghost in the machine.
Yeah,
He
is.
found that out.
We're gonna put 10 pounds on him, but that's another story. But I really think that having a team is so important. And Kelsey, we really learned that from you guys, right? Like I met you through Ben Bruno years ago. I met you through them from Ben Bruno. We talked about this, and I met you through them. Yeah, it's crazy. It's just this domino effect. But I really feel like when I met these two, they were the ones doing it the right way, doing social marketing the right way, building their virtual business. You guys weren't really technically like working out of a gym, but not really working out of a gym. But you guys really had to kind of take your shots and build things up. And I really feel like that they got involved in an early spot. Now everyone's trying to do what they're doing, right? I mean, but we've become really good friends, and all of us. I mean, we just had almost a 3-hour training session together. It still hasn't sunk in yet, and we all live it. But I think the purpose of this thing. So why is there 6 people sitting on top of each other? Are we 6 or 5 people sitting on top of each other? Why? Because I really feel like this is bringing a conversation together of the fitness of the business of fitness, right? I mean, even coming to him right now, we're joking around about the mayor. I mean, he's about as good as connections and meeting people and opening up doors for others. And you're someone that's given so much value to the game.
People fundamentally misunderstand something.
Yeah.
They're worried about sharing and supporting someone else, right? They got this really big scarcity mindset. Well, if I promote someone else, my clients will go to that person, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree.
None of us can possibly be everything to everyone. If we know people who have amazing and complementary skills who are just so good at shit, I would rather actually introduce those people because I can't fucking do it. I don't have the time for that shit.
Right.
I'm already full. So instead of going and writing the article about everything or feeding it to one of the publications I write for, it's like, all right, let's get this great person in there, which does a favor for them. It does a favor for the publication. Everybody's happy. It's no skin off my back. It doesn't take anything away from me at all. And people fail to understand that. And it adds so much value to everybody else's experience. You just literally introduce people, share and support people. And there's a network effect of the more people you know and the more of their skills you know about, the easier it is to find the right fit between people, where they are and what they need.
And I think both of you guys have that superpower, right? Like, I think all of us have that in us, which is why we're here. But you won't find, like, Andrew will, like, we joke around, like Andrew's always in my DMs, right? Like back in the day, I would want, it's like, oh man, in my DMs, Andrew Coates in my DMs all the time. But because he's always connected, man, he's always delivering value. It's like, hey, I want you to know this person. Hey, let's do an article for T Nation together. He's such, and the thing is, how do you not want to automatically, reciprocate? I mean, this is pure Robert Cialdini, right? Like, but reciprocate with somebody that's always giving value, but never asking for anything. And it's very genuine. Like Don's the same way. I'm like, you hang out with Don and he's just like, hold on. All right, let me connect you to this guy. This guy's already shipping you some stuff. You know what I mean? Like, what is he shipping you? Shit, I don't know.
It also gives us fulfillment. I mean, like when you have my wife out and Kelsey, there's so much that you've done in the industry. I mean, what's your guys' thought process on that?
I mean, share what you know.
Right.
I mean, we always say, we've had this mindset since the beginning. It's like, there's so many clients to train. The goal should be to change someone's life. And we've said that from the beginning. If someone's doing your program, awesome. Like, you're going to help them. And if they come from us, that goes to you. That's the goal. Like, not everyone. I mean, I think everyone should be, you know, you should be the coach for everyone. I mean, I think she's great for everybody. Of course. But some people will be want to train with Luka or Don or whatever it is. It's like, send those people out, share what you know. Like me helping Mel.
Right.
That gives me so much joy to see where you guys have gone. Like that is amazing to me. That's what I want to see.
How important this is, I think, for business, right? Because we talked about, I've never, for instance, if you ask Dennis or Kelsey a question about anything, they'll be the help in 1 second, break the whole thing down, like with gusto and enthusiasm, right? And you'll find that people that are successful are always very open to sharing, right? So to me, there's 2 points. One, which we talked about earlier in the podcast, is asking for help.
Right.
Okay. Like, if you ask, the worst thing that can happen if you ask somebody for help is that they'll say no, right? But if you don't ask, it's a no automatically, right? So that's one. Number two is that you should be a person of value to people, you know, and everybody here over delivers. Like, you know, you're at an event, but, you know, you're speaking, but somebody's in a hallway. And I know for every single one of them and myself, like, we'll spend 10, 15, 20 minutes with somebody. No, you should do literally business coaching, or, you know, which we charge a lot of money for, but it's like, you just do it because you want to do it, because it's like pouring out of you. And then what happens is you get a lot of relationships built. Now, you know, you talk about, for me, a big part of my life right now in business is who, not how. We were just talking about this, right? It's like, I can't figure out all the hows by myself. You know, who's the person that's going to help me with this? Social media marketing, who's going to be the GM, who's right? But the thing is, do you know how big of a pool of people of who becomes when your network grows?
So before I blacked out, Derek.
There we go. We got you back, buddy.
You got me back. It was more of so you were one of the first people from a collaborative effort standpoint. So what I'm thinking about was, here you're running a business, but you're showing up to my gym or his gym in a way almost a little bit vulnerable. Like, it's maybe the wrong word to use, but you're like, hey, I'm in your home. Let's go. And that really impressed me, because most people want to turn around and act as if they know it all, right? Like, oh, well, I can't show a side of me being coached by someone else because maybe that's going to show that I'm not as smart. No, it's not the case. Like, you're the number one, when anyone calls me about a female in the space, you're my number one kickoff too. You're the first person. So think about what I just said. You're the first person I'm reverting to. So, but you earned that. So was that something that in the beginning, when you were showing up and collaborating with people, was that something that was tough for you, or did you just find it was natural?
Honestly, it felt pretty natural for me. I am like a lifelong learner, and I am really confident in who I am and what I teach. And I know my lane and my skills for what my clients want. And also, I want to learn all of the things. And I know that all of you have been in this industry for longer than I have, and have such a diverse type of skill set that I'm like, I want to learn everything that you know. And also, I genuinely enjoy meeting people and getting to like know people. And so that to me is just a really great way to connect with individuals, where it's like, maybe I'll be friends with people, maybe I won't be friends with people, but regardless, everyone has something that they can learn from someone else.
Right.
And I have met some of my best friends by just reaching out cold in DMs, and we get in a workout together, and now we hang out all the time. I mean, and look at this, we're putting on an event.
But it's brilliant, because where most coaches are not wanting to expand their reach by turning around and being like, oh, I'm gonna get coached by Luka, or he's gonna show me something, or she's gonna show me something. It's gonna suddenly devalue. It's actually enhance your business, my business, your business. It has. I mean, I feel like that the more that we do good things with great people, the rest just kind of takes
everything comes up.
Yeah, I think that like musicians, think about like, if you look at your Spotify, or for Dennis, it's his Apple Music, which is the wrong choice.
No. Apple Music, but that's a great candle.
You're listening to all these different artists. It doesn't mean that I like Rihanna more than Beyonce. It means I like them both, and I go to them at different times for different reasons. I feel that same way about coaching, and thinking about even Robin, who you can't see her, but she's sitting here in the room. She started off as a client of mine, has been in my small group coaching for a couple of years.
Right.
And she's also done one of Don's challenges.
I love that. Thank you.
Right.
That's
and
awesome.
it's kind of where it doesn't take away from me to have Robin be a part of that program and a part of my program. It's like musicians, they're collabing together all the time. And those are some of the best songs, right? When you see two of your favorite people in the room together or hearing their music, like that's the best thing ever.
You know, it's like, I love this quote. Simon Sinek said this and always stuck with me. Said, you can have anything you want as long as you don't take from somebody else, right? And the thing is, this is giving more. It's not taking from anybody, right? And so that mentality, and just not in business, I think just, you know, to live a more fruitful life. I said fruitful. Wow. Okay. We're really digging into the dictionary today, but, you know,
I can't believe you just used that word. And I still can't believe I blacked out. So, I mean, we're all,
you know what?
So long.
Listen, yeah.
Me being short for words.
I'm going to use some words today, Derek. Okay. Like for instance, I don't want your life to be a ramshackle. Okay. All right. So just since we're digging into words, but I really do feel that, you know, it's, if you come and bring something to another group or another person, like there's zero negative side effects to that, only positives. You get from it, they get from it. I don't know. I would say 50%, if not more, of the business I do today is with friends, people I met, collaborated with, and like I love doing the business, and it actually also does well in a sense of financially and whatever else. You know what I mean? Like
example. Joel James, right? I know who Joel is through you. I met him in 2017 when I came down to the Vigor Summit. And then Joel's one of the nicest guys ever. And I always joke, I'm like, all right, Luka at some point decided he liked Joel, and just Joel's so quiet. So Luka just grabbed Joel and waves Joel around in all of his media, all of the fucking time. So then Joel, who's smart and successful, he's the conditioning guy. He's the energy systems guy, the best in the world. So he's looking at, all right, well, he wants to grow his reach. So Luka, you tell him, reach out to me, because obviously I did well with that with Instagram. So instead of me going, all right, Joel, I'm going to charge you a bunch of stuff, blah, blah, it's like, cool, let's just jam on this. Let's get on the call. So we talk 30 minutes, whole social media strategy. He executes, does it brilliantly, doubles his following within the space of a few months. And Joel and I jam all the time, messages at least on a weekly basis, a lot of detailed conversation about this. Joel turns around, and I want to do a certified conditioning coach course. So he's like, here, man, I'll just give it to you as a thank you, because everything did so well for him. And then he does this private event. And we're talking, he invites me to come hang out at that, which was a blast. And like, you just don't do those little things. Instead of like hoarding your secrets, just share with good people. Joel's awesome. I'd happily do anything for the guy. And he's a beauty, and he's helped me out a lot. And I wasn't asking for any of that stuff.
Derek.
Yeah. I agree with everything you guys are saying.
I'm punting over you because we're like kind of ranting right now, but you got any comments?
It was interesting. I was talking to a friend who owns a performance facility, and he's talking about, you know, how tough it is to, you know, be financially viable. And I started to talk to him about diversification, because as all of you know, if you want to just train athletes, good luck with that business model.
Oh my God.
It's very difficult. So we were talking about a lot of the stuff that Don and I talk about in terms of, you know, general fitness population, having physical therapists, massage therapists involved, and just kind of growing it that way, not necessarily trying to get more athletes or better athletes. Like he was at the NFL Combine and they had one athlete. How much money are you going to make off of that?
Right.
You know, Cressy's, like Pete Dupuis at Cressy's, one of the premier sports performance places in the entire world. What do? They get the parents in there, they leverage the off times, and then they have programs for them. And even they're smart enough to realize that they can't just live alone off of the athletes.
We did that off of golfers for a while, right? Like we were trying to build our club in New York City off of all the golfers. We were like, okay, if you got 300 golfers in New York City coming in, buying memberships, this and that, and then it obviously just evolves to so much more, but it evolved to more when we started really taking that team approach. It was something Greg Rose told me early on from the Titleist Performance Institute. He came into my facility and he said, listen, man, don't try and be the jack of all trades in this stuff. Start surrounding yourself with a team. So I decided, I'm going to go get Charlie. I'm going to go get some great nutritionists, some people to come in, different golf pros who have Rolodexes. And then these people started bringing their people in, and then out of nowhere, like I'm training superheroes. It evolved to something else. Wow. There's just certain things in your business plan that you can't really predict. I want to start with you guys, and I want to run around the table. How has your business plan really changed since, because things were a bit different in 2016, 2017. Like, how do you think your business plans changed? And then I want to go down to each one of you guys.
I mean, we started out in the affiliate world. So we were,
I didn't know that.
yeah, even like email marketing was our main thing. So we made connections within the industry. Everyone had like email lists. That was the main way you were promoting programs. And so like I would promote a buddy's program and make commission on any sales. And then they would do the same for me. And probably in 2014-ish, I started like, I mean, I was always confident that our programs were the best. So I started asking the question, okay, how can we be more just like self-reliant? And that's when we started looking at like Facebook ads and like really growing like social channels. But that was the first change, was getting out of that affiliate world. We still do some, but it's like sending people to you. Like, you know, back in the day, it was just like anyone could email me and I'd be like, yeah, I'll send an email,
right.
You know, but that's how we made money back then. But yeah, and then we never thought we'd have an app. And our users started asking for it, and then we got an app.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we started small and just put everything back into the business and basically just listened to our people and evolved with what they needed. So we added an app, we started doing more challenges, things like that.
It's tough too sometimes, right? Because when you start listening to people, it's like, well, how many of them? 3 people are saying, Don, you're removing golf simulators and we think you're making a mistake, but you're looking at it on paper and you're like, no, it's a good decision.
Yeah.
It's like, that was 3 people out of 300 telling me I was making a bad decision. Do you feel like that was tough for you to have to depict on who's
like who do you listen to?
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, we started doing a lot of surveys to our users and just basically started gathering more data for decision making, basically. Like, and I'll tell you, like right up front, the first app company we reached out to, they were like, yeah, it's going to cost you about $125,000 to make this.
Yeah, I remember those.
And I was like, yeah, that's a big test for not knowing if people are going to actually get it. And so, yeah, we basically just started surveying our customers, and we more and more, as we were doing challenges and programs, they were like, hey, this would be great to have in one place. And so that was kind of like the answer to that.
Yeah, because sometimes the loudest people aren't the majority.
Yeah.
And so being able to quantify who wants what through surveys has been a game changer.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think so. I wanted to kind of bring a principle point up, which is most people don't dive into their business to see who are their best customers. To me, best customers is invest the most, stay the longest, right? So you get this kind of 20, usually 20% brings you in 80% of revenue. Yeah. So this idea and philosophy of like, how can I get my 20% to become as close to 100% of my customers? So you go like, who are my 20%? And then just go, we talked about all in and go like, how can I go all in on that? And, with a performance facility, you give that example. I would go like, hey, like who's your 20%, But remember, not like, oh, these guys come in for 3 months and pay, $1,200 a month. Yeah, but they only come 3 months a year. But then you got a whole bunch of people that pay $400 or $500 a month and they stay a whole year. So they are better customers, right? And then you're serving these 3-month customers, not paying attention to these other ones, but you could 5, 6, 7x those other folks and actually have a consistent stream of revenue. And I think sometimes it's it's an ego thing, because it's like, I train pro athletes and I do this, that, and the other. It's like, but that's not going to make your business, thrive. So, first of all, it's like assessment precedes awareness precedes change, right? And trust me, like I have to, I'm dealing with this now too, like, oh shit, missed that one in my own business. All right, cool. Let's fix it. Let's work on it. I think that's really a big part of it. Cause when I do like business consulting, I'll go like, okay, what's the one thing that if you stop doing your business is dead? It's dead. Like it's gone. Right. And then, sit down and people are like, oh, it's this thing. All right, great. Like do that like 50 times more than you're doing it. Like, and people are like, oh, how could we do that? Well, let's do this, right? And all of a sudden business grows, because most people tend to be like, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. I'm doing this.
Yeah, you're all over the place.
Yeah. It's like, and if you just really looked in and, we actually talked about this, like going all in, right? Like on something, that 20-80 and like shifting that 20%. And look, you're never going to get to 100%, but if you can get that 20 to be 50% of your customers, you've 2.5x your business essentially.
I think COVID really, and I want to kick it over to you, but I think COVID really forced a lot of people to have to go all in on certain things. Like when you're sitting there and you're like, all right, my business is gone, or you're a trainer working at Equinox, and suddenly, you have no more business. The creativity and the success, there was a high level of success by a lot of coaches who turned around. They're like, the hell do I need to be doing this for anymore? Like, this is crazy. Like, I'm all in right now. I know it was a very tough time, but I think for coaches, it really, my number is, I think it sped the training world up about 10 years.
Wow.
I really do. I really believe that we were 10 years behind where we are now when it comes to virtual training, when it comes to product out there, when it comes, you know, and you hope that the paid spend end of it, you know, people are figuring it out. It's fine, right? Like there is a formula. I don't believe this, well, the algorithm, like stop with the freaking excuses. Like you just got to go all in. Stop putting $20 behind something thinking that you're going to make $22 and then suddenly like you just put more. It doesn't work that way. Passing over on
to your original question about like evolution of this stuff. I think this is really important. I'm sitting here at a table full of people with quote 7-figure businesses. And this is for relatability for anybody listening. If you feel like, well, that's really intimidating. That's like, how do I ever get there? I remember working on the gym floor and reading T Nation and like seeing people like John Goodman and Lane Norton and all these people speaking at all these events. And it's like, all right, here I am just punching sessions on the gym floor and I don't have any clue of how you get to that place. And now I'm speaking at events with these people. So that's a little surreal, but it can happen. I try to peel back that. So second thing is for everybody who is struggling with this stuff, I'm still figuring some of this stuff out. Yeah, I've pivoted over time. I've leaned into online a bit more, building a group program, which I think has potential. We'll see, right? It's not on the scale you guys have. And then let me regather my thoughts here. I've also realized that, okay, this particular type of clientele, as I keep raising my rates, I notice, wow, I get the better quality of people that self-select, which is you gotta be willing to go and increase the rates, take that chance because you're scared you'll lose certain customers, the ones that are complaining. The ones that are complaining are the ones you want to get rid of because they're the biggest pain in the ass. And sorry, I'll put it bluntly, it is what it is. Oh, I just want to help people. Guess what? You can actually help more people if you have a really secure livelihood long-term and it keeps you in the game. How many trainers do you know left this game during COVID because they were already 1 foot out and struggling and then it wiped them out? So you got to take care of that. And then back to the whole thing about building a business. Honestly, like I hope everybody's plugged into the stuff you guys are doing. And that's what this event is about this weekend, is to learn these skills so that way it's not like pass, fail, 7-figure business or bust. It's places along that journey. You guys all had a long process to build that up and you've had some good luck, good fortune, great connections that have led to massive success. But it's actually okay if you're working on like low 6-figure business and trying to learn these skills and develop this stuff. And if you keep an open mind that honestly, you can succeed with this stuff, it's totally attainable. And I'm here this weekend to learn that I just want to soak up this stuff because this stuff expands my horizons from what I learned in that big box gym and that very rigid way of thinking. And honestly, you guys have to be willing to discard some of that stuff and open your mind about different ways to do business. And it's why I like going to events like this, to be in rooms with not just your John Goodmans and your Lane Nortons, but the people who are on the same journey that you're on, because sometimes those people are actually doing really cool stuff. And those are the people you grow together. You guys all grew together in this space. Grow together with those people.
But it's also ironic. And Derek, I mean, you've done this. I mean, your business was mainly in person, right? And you launched a very successful, digital sprint program, and that took, its own form. And just watching that evolve has been pretty special. So, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, one of the things that's been very useful now is that because COVID happened, it allowed me to do virtual products, right? But what's happened now is that's a value-added product. So I still do the in-person, but I will go, for instance, to the Arizona Coyotes. And they're in season. So I'm not going to do in person right now, but I can send them my courses to do while they're on the road, on a road trip, get the courses done virtually. And then when I get there in person, everything is more practical based. Like, let's actually work on the practical stuff because you guys have the theory. We all speak the same language now. So it's actually added value to my in-person by giving people this preview of my courses. But nothing beats doing the practical stuff in person, right? So there's been a lot of great things that have happened, just in terms of improving service delivery.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, look, I always say it's not either or, it's and. For a lot of people navigating this space of, okay, well, I'm an in-person, coach, because that era is gone where you're basically like, you don't exist on social media. Unfortunately, I mean, basically, like, think about how, like, even a gym, I'm a brick and mortar business with Vigor, how people find us, right? nobody calls you up anymore and goes like, hey, I got a bunch of questions about your like, I mean, mostly it's like blog, website, IG, Facebook.
DMs.
They do all the research and then they hit you up. And then maybe they, they still have some questions, whatnot, but 90% of the work is done. So, did a tree fall in the forest if you didn't hear it? It's like, it's like, did you, yeah, that's the point. It's like, do you exist? Do you exist if you're not on the platforms? If you can't, somebody find you on the website and the answer is unfortunately no.
They sent me the yellow pages to my house. It's this thick now. Right? Remember when the yellow pages used to be?
Send those to my friend Melody Schoenfeld. She's like 5 feet tall, and maybe she's 110 pounds. She's ripping these things up. I'll show you his video after.
Yeah.
Listen, guys. Yeah, we. You know what we did? We called Uber Eats through yellow pages. You know what I mean? Like we looked it up. I mean, but that's the point though, right? Like the point is that like 10 years ago, that's what you did, right? Now it's like, Renton gym, or whatever else. Like you might actually remember a name or hear a name and see a video.
The access is incredible.
It's incredible. And like that's my whole point for brick and mortar is that like it doesn't take that much time, if you're strategic and if you just build a habit. It's not like, oh, I'm spending hours a day, doing this media. Like I'll shoot a video for 20 seconds and do audio over it while I'm, like in the bathroom, and it's just like, and it got 60,000 views, you know what I mean? And the reality is like, you just have to build a habit and then schedule it and build that, presence and positioning, and it will help your online business. And the thing is, I'm like, just become a local legend, an expert, but guess what? Like we had pre-COVID, I stopped tracking, post-COVID, but pre-COVID, we're getting 7 people a month that would walk in the gym, never fill out a form, never call us, and be like, hey, they're checking you guys out, and be like, hey, what made you reach out to us? What made you come in here today? I'm like, oh man, I saw your video. So like videos would make them walk into the gym and go like, so, because they see it so much, when they think about changing, they're like, well, that person's already been helping me through the content. Like, duh, I'm going to go and reach out to them. So that's where I feel like it shouldn't be an either or, it should be, and it's just strategic,
There's one word that's never going to change, whether you're completely online or whether you are running a brick and mortar business. And that word's engagement. Mm-hmm. And that's really where the magic pill is. And I think I want to get everyone's opinion here, but I really believe this is what a lot of these young coaches are missing. Because when I launched the challenges, and I launched my first one probably 7-8 years ago, took a break because I was focused on brick and mortar. And then come the pandemic, I'm like, I'm going to launch a challenge. And that really fulfilled something for me at the time that I lost. Mm-hmm. For the first time in 20 years, I didn't have it anymore. And that was coaching, because I wasn't coaching people in person, but now I had the ability to get in front of people. And then I suddenly realized, it's like, holy shit, a lot of these coaches out there are trying to sell programs, work less, make more. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's going to stick. I think at a certain point, people are going to get bored of you. At a certain point, they're going to get bored of the same programs. They need those touch points. Mm-hmm. What are you guys doing? Because you guys have been more virtual than all of us, right? But you are still doing things to get in front of people.
Yes.
Like, what are you guys doing? Is that part of your business plan? Is that part of your plan moving forward? Do you guys have something in your head where you're like, because I'm always seeing you shooting content with people. Mm-hmm. Talk about that a little bit.
Do you want to first? Yeah, well, I mean, collaborations are always something that has been really fun. Like I've done with you both a million times, and it's just a great way to get in front of people, be able to get in front of other audiences as well. So it's like you can meet great people, but also have expanded reach. So just continuing to do that has always been really good. We've done a ton of ads over the course of the last few years. But also I think something that often gets kind of brushed under the rug is continual engagement with the people that you do have. Like so if you don't, you don't necessarily need to have the biggest following or biggest audience, but if you have people who absolutely love you, it makes all the difference.
This is what we spoke about putting your time behind those things that are already paying you dividends. Yeah. A lot of us are trying to go off and find all this new business where you're like, you have a loyal following already. Engage with them, pamper them a little bit.
Well, we took this from talking to you. Like you were like, I do videos Monday through Friday, just answer everyone's questions. We started doing that in our Facebook groups, and it's like, oh my God, unbelievable.
Yeah. Game changer.
Yeah, game changer. And like, my love for email. Like we send emails basically every day. Yeah. And that's a way for us to stay in front of it. But it's like when she's actually on camera saying, hey, Don, your question was this, and answers that on a video. And then it's like you have 50 to 100 questions on that video for the next day.
Happy birthday, Tina.
Yeah, happy
Yeah.
birthday.
Sing the happy.
Sing the happy birthday.
I'm gonna start singing.
This is dope. But I want to break this down because this is tactical stuff, right? So when you guys get questions, every day you answer questions inside of the group. But for instance, how many questions do you answer? Do you pick some? Do you just like riff on all of them that you get?
So in Facebook groups in the Facebook groups, I always answer everyone who tags me. So I'll type out the answer. If you tag me in a question in the group, I'll go through, and the way that the algorithm is, well, you can sort it now, but like, I won't be able to answer every single thing. Or if it's like people just reporting about how they did, I'm like, way to go. You're amazing. But for these videos, I have them post in the actual thread. So I'm like, ask me like any birthdays tomorrow, any accomplishments that you want us to celebrate, and what questions you have. And those are the 3 things that I have them go in the thread, and then I make a video about the next day. And then in my small group coaching that I do with Robin, it's what were your wins for the week? What are you struggling with? And what are your questions?
Awesome. I wanted to ask that because that's like strategic tactical. If somebody that's listening is like, just do that. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and Don, you've noticed how valuable that is. I mean, all of your users, they see
they're obsessed with you.
Yeah. You are their coach. They're not going to go anywhere else just because of 10-minute videos every day.
I think
Monday to Friday.
The eye opener for me was DonCon.
Yeah.
Because I didn't believe it. Like I gotta be honest. I mean, I booked my wife, let's rephrase that, booked this retreat center in Costa Rica, and it's like 35 people in a retreat center. Like, people are going to want to travel off their vacation time. Like, it's expensive. It's far. Like, it's not going to be sold out in 2 hours. 2 hours. And then next year, 70 people on an island. And it was a 6-figure commitment to rent the island. It was 70 people over 15 countries. And I was like, oh my God, now we double that number this year. So, but that to me that was the power of engagement, which you guys do as well. You do it as good as anyone I've ever seen from a business to business standpoint. I've like communicating with people, and you guys are phenomenal at it.
I'll give you how you do it, especially for the coach who doesn't have the big following. I'll give you how to do it business consumer. All right. So let's say you got 500 or 2,000 followers on Instagram. We'll use that, or whatever platform. All right. You post something up and maybe it gets like 50 to 100 likes, a few comments. You send a voice, or even better, a video message personalized to everybody who commented. You do not pitch or sell or use some like vaguely interested, hey, how you doing, right into your pitch. Never pitch these people. Don't ever do it. Just say thank you. Just something warm, something personal. When you run out of people who are commenting, that everybody who likes your stuff, send them that voice message, send them that video message, and just interact. It opens up the chain of communication. They're going to see your stuff more on the algorithm. And anybody who shares your stuff, tags you in it, send them a personalized voice message, a video message. I think this stuff does not take very long. If your audience is small, it's easy to do this stuff in 15 to 20 minutes a day. One of the highest value added things you can do. Never pitch. And then you just keep serving. You keep serving people, showing up, share unconditionally without any expectation. Oh, this post didn't do very well. My YouTube video didn't do very well. I quit. I give this shit up. This is the crap that we complain about when our clients No, I wasn't saying that. I was this is the stuff that we complain about when our clients like stop after 3 weeks because they didn't see the fat loss. It's like, well, why are you stopping with your efforts to lean into and grow brand or media?
They're going to eventually be like, what program do you have?
Exactly.
Follow it. Yeah.
Derek is probably the most well-known sprint mechanics coach on the planet. I can't tell you how many people message me and they're like, I messaged Derek. He answered my question. He sent me over a program for free. He helped me out. Cool. This is someone who's top of his game, and he's still doing. This is engagement 101, man.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, what do you do?
This is why this is important, right? Because if you in real life, right, communicate, it's normal, right? Let's say Andrew comes up like, dude, love your sneakers, right? I'd be like, man, thanks, bro. I appreciate that. Yeah. We'd start having a conversation about it, right? On social media, because it's vast, it's really easy to be like, somebody likes your stuff, comments on it, that you don't do that. But, or you give them a thumbs up, which is weird, right? Because in real life, I was just talking about in Raise the Bar, right? Somebody goes like, hey, man, they say something. And I'm just like, you'd be like, what a fucking weirdo, right? So you'd be like, oh, man, thanks. And we do have a conversation. So if you take that mentality, especially, here's the thing, especially when you have a smaller audience, if you can maintain that to a certain degree with a larger audience, and there's ways to scale that, obviously, like that becomes a personal thing. Like that person feels connected, engaged, right? But it's a natural human interaction. And what people started doing on social media is doing things that are not real human interactions. And so, of course, really quickly, you're like, oh, that's whatever. That's a bot, or they got somebody, you know, a person that I know, I wouldn't call him a friend, but as a colleague, you know, I got hit up in the DMs, and it's like, hey, what are your goals for this quarter? I'm like, get the fuck. I'm like, listen, get the fucking, hey, give the phone back to fucking Tony. You know, like, and it's like, and the thing is, I legitimately like voice memo that. So listen, man, like, you know, and it's like, dude, like, I instantly know, because that's not a natural human interaction. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I'm walking down the street. Like, imagine I see Don, right? Like, and I'm like, Don, break down your 90-day. You know, it's like, he'd be like, dude, what's wrong with you? Like, you know,
I would black out.
Yeah, it's right. Like, it's like, if you just take your human self to interact on social media, and whatever time you can commit to it, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, it's a very, like, the thing is that that day the ROI may not be, you know, high and you get a lead, whatever, but over time it just significantly compounds.
But that's the problem, is that people are looking for an immediate return. They're like, right? Wait a second, hold on. You just responded to 20 people and I'm not getting likes.
I didn't get a lead.
Or I'm not getting a lead. Or what's the point? I'm like, man, this takes a lifetime of, you know, you know what actually impressed me with that was Gary Vaynerchuk. When you look at his Wine TV or Wine TV, when you look at the amount of episodes he did on that shitty camera, set up in that shitty room with him speaking for like, he had like 500 or 600 episodes. Imagine doing something for like 500 or 600, you know, wherever it was, weeks, or, and you know what I'm talking about here, and having that level of persistence, resiliency to just keep saying, I believe in this. Like, I think that we pay too much attention to vanity metrics. You and I talked about this. Build the email list, put great content out. I put great stuff out that's gotten 300 likes. And I put stuff out with me and Frank Seppi walking around in Cobra Kai, tight zip-ups, working out, where Frank's package is literally hanging out of it. And you get 500,000 views. I mean, it's hysterical. I'm like, really? This is what we've come to? There's no predicting this stuff.
But we've talked about this too, though. Like, people always think like, I'm going to create a product, and then you sell one. And you're like, okay, well, change the name, create a different product. Like, we've created so many products that sold hardly any. And if we would have stopped after we, like, quote unquote, failed, we wouldn't even be here.
Never be here. Right?
Yeah. You just have to keep creating, keep putting things out there. Like, we were confident in our programs. And again, I always say this, the first program I ever created took me 6 months to write. I mean, it was like a massive 150-page like book, which is not a great idea if you're trying to just sell an online program. Don't do that. And I sold like 5 copies. And I'm like, wow, that was a waste.
I wonder how the result was. I wonder how
should you learn
a ton,
experience?
A ton. But it's like, if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't be here. You just got to keep putting things out there. Our process now, like, we can create a program with follow-along videos in like 2 days.
Derek, I'm actually curious to ask you that. Like, how has your process evolved since going from doing everything in person to, and I knew you when you really launched one of your most recent digital products. Like, what have you learned in those last 3 years since putting out your first sprint mechanics program?
I think it's just get over yourself and just do it. Like, that's like, really, it's like, because the one thing that I keep having to tell people is, like, you don't need to study or work harder to be a better physical therapist or a better trainer or a better coach. You need to work on these other things, and you need to put stuff out there, and you need to communicate, right? And all the stuff that Andrew was saying there. But a lot of people are like, no, I'm gonna go to this conference, I'm gonna go to this course, and I'm gonna keep learning, and then I'll be better, and people will find me. And it's like, no.
There's something.
Do you guys have? I mean, it's interesting. There was a company. I'm not going to mention the company, but I guess they were at the NFL Combine, and they put a big training center together, big money to put this all together. And somebody was telling me about the company. It's an apparel company, and I said, oh, they sell shoes, and he says, no. They are a marketing company. They source their stuff from China. It's okay. There's no product development. They are a marketing company, right? And so the vehicle is selling stuff, but they are full on in the marketing. So that's why they spend, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of dollars at the NFL Combine to build a training center. So all the athletes come through there, wear their stuff, which is okay, but they're getting market share.
There's something, Derek, that you said in there that I want to grab onto too. It's about, it's good to go to Con Ed. It's good to read the books. But I think for a lot of coaches, it's a really comfortable way. It's a emotionally soothing way to procrastinate from doing the hard thing. The hard thing is to create the business ideas from nothing. The hard thing is to write the article or start the YouTube channel and fearing that people will ridicule you or criticize, or worse, no one will show up. So that stuff's scary, and there's no blueprint how to do it right, but it's easy to read the book, follow the course outline. So a lot of the time, I think coaches just need to calm down a little bit on all this like information seeking, because it makes them feel like they're doing something positive. And you actually have to do the hard thing and create something from nothing.
Well, that's why we really came up with tomorrow, right? What we're doing tomorrow, Derek, this is really what it's coming down to. I mean, I think we've all, I mean, I know I've been more victim. I'm assuming you probably did too. I mean, for years and years, taking more courses and just continuing to learn. The reality is, if I didn't become a smarter trainer 10 years ago, I would have been fine. Like you would have been also. Like, I'm not saying I would have wanted to do that. I'm much happier knowing what I know now, but there were so many other facets of my business that I had to rely on, way over taking my FMS level 56 or whatever the hell it was, right? Like at a certain point, it's like, all right, dude, like go take a public speaking course, go get on camera, go get feedback from people that are going to be brutally honest. Don't go ask, you know, Mom, what do you think of this? Oh, you're amazing, son. Like, no, like have someone actually. Boyle did that to me. Boyle came to one of my first talks ever at Perform Better. I look out, I see Mike Boyle. So I'm like, I'm on stage, there's like 200 people, and I'm like, Mike Boyle's in the crowd. That's all I can focus on. Like, I cannot believe Mike Boyle is listening to me. And then after he came up, he sat right next to me. I'm like, Mike, so nice to meet you. He goes, really good talk. I go, what'd you think? And he's like, I thought you did very well. And I'm like, Mike, this is what I said to him. I said, what did you think? And he goes, all right, man, we're going to grab a beer right after this. I said, fine. So we went down and we drank like 6 or 7 Bud Lights. And he's like, you did this, and there wasn't enough nuts and bolts. And I was like sitting there for like an hour. And he's like, do. And since then, every year in Providence, we meet for breakfast at 6:30 a.m. on one day. And we sit and we talk because he gave me that feedback. I literally got on a train and I went 3 hours up to Boston to walk to his facility, take him to breakfast. I turned around 3 hours back. I spent 2 hours with him max. Right. But to get that type of feedback and to have someone that's going to tell me what most people don't want to hear, for me, was one of the most valuable pieces of information.
I'm going to piggyback on that, like finding, not just seeking feedback, but like chasing it. Farouj has been that for me. When we speak, it's always like notes. And I remember at my summit, after the first speech, he's like, dude, you killed it there. You could have done better there. You weren't moving around enough. You could have, but, you know, so boom, boom, boom. And like, I'm literally going notes. Next day, I have a prezo. I go study it. I do it. And he's like, dude, you hit all the things I told you, know, but it's like, that's the kicker is like, can you take that hard stuff? Like, you know what I mean? Hey, like that, you know, that was good, but man, that shit was like, that was not good. Too many you do this too much. Okay. Like that feedback for me to get better. Right. And whether it's speaking or whether it's whatever else, like if you want to get better, you have to find people that love you enough, you know,
we should honestly agree on that round table. We should do that because I know for a fact there's things I did up there that you guys probably looked at was like, okay, you could do a better job with that, or you. And we should, it's tough to do. You got to be really mature about it, but you got to understand the reason for doing it. And the reason for doing that is for all of us to get better. It takes a special group to be able to do it.
You mentioned earlier about just continually learning. Like at Raise the Bar, we gave a talk. My portion was email marketing. I was at other presentations and taking things away from other people about email marketing, and I'm on stage talking about it. It's like, that's the thing though, is you want to be constantly learning, and that, I think you're great at that as well. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing where it's like taking the ego out of it, being like, oh, I have to prove that I am the best at everything. It's like, you can believe that you are the best, but it doesn't mean you still know everything, you know? And one thing that I was going to add on to that is I think that is how I've become a lot more comfortable on camera and coaching in general, is because Dennis has been really great at kind of media training. So we have this process where we riff off of each other in ad creation and content creation, all these things. And basically he will be like, okay, let's try this headline. And I'll say, okay, great. So I say the headline and then I try to engage people with something that will help benefit their lives. And then I pitch them. And we'll do reps like that over and over. And there have been so many times where he's like, no, you need to be more energetic, or you need to do this, or your face, you need to fix your face. Like that's the one that we got to back to. So like, okay, maybe not that one, but it's a great way where it's like, it's not a personal attack on me or my coaching or who I am or anything. It's, hey, let's get better. And this will be so much better for everybody if you're willing to take that without feeling like it's a personal attack.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, for you guys, which for everybody that wasn't in Dallas for the presentation, I think it was really cool to, one, have you guys show like, hey, here's the videos for like one of the ads we try to create. And there's like 100, you know what I mean? Right. And it's like, well, obviously you didn't use 100, and going through like, this is the amount of, practice that it takes. And this is how much, like, you guys have been doing it for a long time. It's like, this is how many failures you have to get a couple of good ones. Right. And it's like, it's just, that part is never ending. I think Don made a good point. Like, because you have to become a great coach and be great at what you do. Right. And then it's like these, I think like it's these buckets that you fill and look at, right? Like you've been in the game for 15 years. The reality is I'm using 10 to 15% of my knowledge for most, clients that I train. And that's okay. Right. But so the X's and O's, it's cool, but you're not great at communication. You're not great at empathy and listening better and being a better entertainer, right? And like grabbing attention. Okay, cool. So you got to go work on that, right? You're sucking with writing and being on camera. You got to work on that. I actually am a really big believer that the better you are at content, it really helps you be a better coach, 100%. Right? Yeah. Because again, if that's your intent, like I have to 30-second video of coaching something, I got to be really good at it.
Oh, hell right? Yeah.
Concise at it. To tell a 90-second story about something, like I got to know my shit, right? And so to me, it's like if you can connect the dots and go like, hey, if I can do these things well, I can bring them to coaching on the floor. It's actually going to make me better.
We're going to see that tomorrow. We're going to see overcoaching. I already know it. I know that you're going to have a couple coaches where you're going to turn around and say, could you teach me the squat? And they're going to immediately start assuming that you don't know to do something before. And you've seen it. You've seen someone like, can you demonstrate what I'm demonstrating now? And then you just nail it. Perfect. Probably better than you can do it or I can do it. And you're like, phenomenal. Like, okay, can you put a weight in your hand now and do that with a weight in your hand? Oh, that's pretty good. All right, that's called a squat. And we're going to do 10 reps of that right now, where a lot of young coaches, it's, well, what we want to do is we want to keep our head in this position, and you want to keep your weight in the center of your feet, and you want to focus on, it's like at that, and you look at the client and they're like,
it's the things that every trainer goes through, right?
Right.
It's like Jordan Side always talks about early on in his content creation, he's writing articles. He's trying to write articles to impress his mentor, Eric Cressy. Yeah. Now he realizes that's a big mistake. And Jordan does content to the general population better than almost anybody.
Right? Yeah. And that's the thing, is like, who are you talking to? Right. Like, and again, you may be talking to coaches because it's, I would say one of my businesses is towards coaches because it's educational, but then, okay, cool. That's how you talk. And to be honest with you, like, and I actually like your input. This is my personal, just like, I want to know, because this is what I see. And I would like to know from you too, Derek. I think that there's way too, that smart people, they're doing great work. They're speaking to this, like, 3% of coaches, right? And it's actually, and this is, when I launched my product, this confirmed this as a result, right? Where people like, oh my God, I was waiting for something that when I go through the product and course, I actually feel like I can do this, right? Where it's like going to a course and going like, wow, these people are really smart. I don't know what the fuck to do. That's not a good result.
That's a superpower. Right. When we were talking about, we were talking about
here, and it's like, I think it's,
that's your superpower, by the way. Taking something that could be incredibly complex and allowing an entire room of 50 people to leave there actually understanding what it is.
Dude, that's expertise.
Right.
That's expertise.
So how long did that take you to learn?
This is why I hate university, because that's university. It's like useless shit that I don't use. Like, 'cause my son is taking kinesiology, and he'll bring stuff to me and like, what do you think of this? I'm like, oh my God, why are they teaching this? This is totally useless. Like, it's everything, right? So I can't even talk to him because he'll fail if I tell him what to do, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like he'll fail the test.
Yes.
Absolutely. Dude, I had a friend that was like, can you help me with this certification? And like the question, the multiple choice, I was like, none of these is true. I don't know what the fucking circle. I'm like, bro, like none of this is true. So I don't know what to circle, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're on your own. You know what I mean? Like,
the industry of people who like are friends and aligned in philosophy. disagree on shit. How are you supposed to get the right answer on one of these fucking tests?
Dude, it's true. But I mean, so my personal kind of one of my missions is once I got over, because, you know, I was that person that was like, I want to impress my peers, right? Like, look, I'm really smart. So, you know, once you kind of go like, okay, this doesn't make sense because it's not helping, right? I'm going into the bucket of people that are talking to 3% of people and not really making the industry better. At least that's my opinion. How can I teach practical stuff that people can leave empowered with when they go through it and go like, actually, I can do this week, tomorrow, you know. And then we started getting feedback where people around the world are like, I started using the system. Holy shit, clients love it. Oh my God. And it's like, rather than being like, you know, this is simple, just do this thing. I think actually that's more empowering than going like, look at me, bro, you don't know all this stuff that I know, right? Like, and I'm going to show you all what I know. And then they
show how smart I am.
They actually leave feeling worse.
I'll tell you a little secret. I'll tell you a little secret for the coaches. First of all, don't try to impress Luka or Kelsey. Like, that's not even something you should be worried about. Okay. So do not create content to impress you guys or Mike Isertel. Create stuff that serves the everyday user. And you want to know something? Isertel, Kelsey, Luka, Don, everybody will actually be far more impressed at your ability to serve that general population. You'll get way more respect than if you're trying to 100%. Come up with technical shit that Mike Isertel is going to go, actually, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Derek, that's something that came very naturally to you. I mean, even through COVID, you remember that first course that you hosted in the city where I came in to watch, and I think you had 50 people. This is like right on the back end of COVID when no one was traveling. And he's like, yeah, this place is bringing me out. And we walked in at 50 people, packed house. He's like, I can't believe how many people were there. But I sat there and I've listened to his lectures probably as much as anyone else has. And just sitting there every time he delivers that message, it's in this very user-friendly way where every time you listen to him, you're leaving there going, motherfucker. Like, it's so simple. It's so user-friendly. Was that something that you had to work on? I mean, or was that
the only thing I was thinking about in that conference is I hope I don't get COVID because I wanted to get back into Canada.
No, seriously.
Well, yeah, like I think I was always, again, I'll go back to university. I have a number of degrees, but I don't think I use anything. The best course I ever took in school was typing, where I actually learned on a typewriter because I actually use that every day. So that's the one thing I keep going back to is like, what am I going to use? Even though that, you know, didn't make me smarter, but I get irritated by people who are like, you know, there's guys that will pull out any study, like, and quote a study and like, oh, you know, this so-and-so on ATAL and did this, right? And I'm like, oh, okay, that's really impressive, but that's not helping me, right? So I think I get irritated by the people, the know-it-alls, and I'm just like, that's great. That the trivia is really great, but I want something usable. And I did learn that from like Charlie Francis, who was very intelligent, but at the time he would give you the simplest way to fix something, right? And he's working with like, you know, some of the top athletes in the world, but he was always very, very simple. And then he'd tell me the explanation later away from the athlete, because the athlete doesn't need to hear about studies and physics and whatever. They just need, what do I need to do to get better? And so then we'd have a discussion afterwards, and it was very complicated and like way over my head. And 10 years later, I might figure it out. But when he prescribed it to the athlete, extremely simple, one variable, he adjusted one thing. You know, his comment was like, think twice, speak once, right? So know what you're going to tell them, you know, and just tell them, you know, very simply what they need to do. So that, I think that's where I got it from.
I mean, you've done such a, I got to give you a shout out on like, I think that your infographics are the best kind of like quick, simple explanations of concept and sprinting. It's so good. Do more of them. No,
they get more engagement than any. Like, I'll do like I'll put together a video on it, and I think it's really great, and I'll spend hours and hours and hours, and then I get, you know, 100 people like it, and then I draw a picture that's very cartoonish, and I'll get 10,000 like, you know, like, so yeah, there's something about the simplicity that people like.
Well, because I like, honestly, like I save them because I like to share and teach through your concepts, right? Because again, it's like, look, you understand, it's like the Bruce Lee thing, right? At first, the punch was just a punch, right? Then you learn more, and it's like, oh my God, it's so much more than a punch. And it's like, you try to explain all this complicated shit, but then once you master it, it's just a punch. because you know how to just give that one cue. I think you do a great job with that. Through that, you know, and this is, I hopefully something that people can pick up and go like, you know, it's a lot of work to simplify something, right? Like it's like, holy shit, how can I make this so simple that people are like, oh, okay, right? Like, and it's usable. And I think that you do a great job with that. Actually, I would encourage, you know how I said like, hey, you know, whatever's working, do 50 more times of that. Yeah, you should do that. And you'll get more traffic and shares and everything else. Cause it really is like, and my brother who, you know, my brother loves your stuff, and, you know, he's in Slovenia. He's top sports performance guy for soccer players. And he's, you know, he's done every level of the Altus mentorship. And he's basically like, you know, always sharing your stuff. Cause he's like, dude, this is so applicable. And like, I can use this. It's quick. It's explainable. And I know cause he does a lot of presentations for the National Soccer Association and the tests for all the soccer players. And he's used your stuff before. Gave you reference, of course. But again, because it's like, you can show that and go like, look, simple. I'm going to explain this. And then everybody that's not like a strength coach, performance coach, and go like, oh, okay. Right? And that's the magic. And I think everybody should get really good at it and work really hard to make it very simple. Right. And again, that's a tough thing. If you become top notch, I think you can become a person that really can clarify things in a simple way. And that's content. And that's why everybody should do more of it.
So D, you know, we've been on about an hour already, and I want to kind of go around the table for one last question in reference to tomorrow, because I mean, you're here as our friend and someone who, but you are an exceptional coach. But I think asking you guys, you know, what is your main objective? What would make you happy to leave after our however many hours, 10 hours that we're going to spend with this group? What's your main objective? What would you like to see? And I want to start with you, because you're handling a very different, I love it.
Let's go.
You're handling a very different aspect of what we're going to be teaching tomorrow. So what is your goal?
I think the goal is to show people that most of the back-end stuff doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to be intimidating. There are so many amazing tools out there that can really simplify the process.
Right.
And I think a lot of times people just overcomplicate the process of, you know, creating products or creating a funnel. And even saying that word funnel can confuse people or intimidate people, but it's really very simple. And that's, so like my goal is for people to walk away and be like, wow, I can do that. And I can do that very quickly without spending tens of thousands of dollars like these, you know, quote graphic designers are charging for websites. Like, no, you don't need that. You can make a beautiful looking website, Squarespace, WordPress. There's so many tools out there. So yeah, that'd be my goal for people, is just walk away with the confidence to know, like, I can do this.
By the way, Dennis is a savage at this stuff. Like
Does he offer a course in this?
Maybe he doesn't want to be known more for it. So like, if you don't, that's cool, because I just won't. You know,
the world needs more Dennis.
Yeah, but it's like that dude is just like so good. It's, you know,
tell me where to sign up for your course, Dennis. I need.
Yeah, no, I'm dead serious. Like, he's so good at this.
I'll work on a discount.
He's like you when it comes to sprinting, though, because Dennis can make that stuff simple. Like that's what his gift is too. Is just so good at it. But it's like, if he was making infographics, like, you know, I mean, he'd be on that level, right? Because he is on that level with the way he can explain it to people and just make people be like, oh, I can do it. Which is that is the gift, because then people go do it, and that's. We're all in the business of change. Like that's where
they're already coming in to see. They're already coming in to hear about this aspect of the business, and they're feeling very vulnerable, right? It's almost like the client coming in to see the trainer. Like they're coming to you because most of them aren't good at this, and they're struggling. I've seen some high-powered people going, I don't need this guy talking to me in terms that I don't understand. I'm already in here feeling a little insecure, and I'm not used to being in that position. And you're like, as a gym owner, I was like, man, I'm screwing this up. But tomorrow I'm excited for them to see what you have to offer. And Mel's going to show some cool stuff on the back end as well.
Yeah.
Come on.
So many things, but if I had to take kind of one piece about what I've been reading that people want and what I feel passionate about, is people walking away with tangible feedback about their coaching presence, in being able to take elements of whether they're in person or online and be able to turn up the volume on who they are to be a better coach. So just being able to help them feel more confident. If they flip on the camera, they don't feel like a deer in the headlights. They understand how to translate their amazing coaching skills into the universe to be able to put out more stuff. So one, tangible feedback, just for us being able to sit behind the table and give that to them.
I love it.
And then also peer feedback, but then also just in a softer skill of confidence.
I love it. Come on, man.
See, I part of my brain wants to go to like all these X's and O's, but really, I can tell you that there's events for me in the past that I can bring up where like I left there and I felt like I got invigorated, no pun intended. But basically I left there with gusto and momentum. You know, it was like, I'm in a dictionary today, but with fruitful results. But it's because if people, it's like, okay, I got these things that I know I can do, because this is the key, the belief, right? Belief I can do them, and they go and they start doing that, man, because that is the most powerful thing ever. Like the amount of events I went to, and I'm like, holy shit, went back, barely did anything, right? Because I didn't have the confidence or the belief or momentum to like instill that. So like our goal, like, yes, here's the strategies, but for people to go like, man, I'm going to go back, hit the ground running and never look back, because I want to hear from everybody in 6 months where they're messaging us and going like, holy shit, like this is what happened. This is what happened. Like, I just want to hear the wins. And for that, you have to attach the knowledge to this belief that they can do it. And so that's my biggest thing, is for everybody to leave that way,
Love it. I think, I've always said that there's a difference between being a great coach and a great trainer, right? I think a great trainer is someone that really understands that educational aspect of training, anatomy, kinesiology. They've studied and they understand. Coaching is how do we get into their soul, right? And how do we really motivate people to get from point A to point B? So I think tomorrow for me is to help people relax a little bit and just say, you know what? I'm here. That's step one. And what we're going to show them, I really think is going to be able to elevate their game. But how do we shine a light on the areas of their business or their training, coaching that they really have to work on? Because I'm sure no one has sat there saying, you know what, you're not so good at this. And that's okay. Like, we weren't good at this either. Like, I remember going back and watching video of myself going on Revolution Golf for the first time, when I had a camera. Justin Tupper is standing behind the camera, and then behind them is 8 people with lighting. And they're like, we got lunch in an hour if we get these 3 things done. And you're sitting there going, oh my God. And like, I got to nail this right now. And you go back and you think about those times, and those times that seem rough are what grooved us into being able to do what we do today. So I wish we had this type of content when we were getting into the business. And I know one of the reasons why he's here is he's going to give us brutal feedback based off it, which is one of the reasons why I love him. He's like, all right, guys, this is what we need to hear, more of this and more of that. And that's why he's turned into a great friend. So
I'm just here to hang out, support, and I'm going to speak for the people who are attending. I want to take a few pieces away that make me better, because again, like, there are people who might look at what I'm doing with my media and the stuff like the public speaking and the writing and me, oh God, I can't relate to that. Man, there are so many things I watch all of you guys do, and I'm like, I'm in awe of how great you guys are at it. It makes me very aware sometimes of how I struggle with elements of that, right? The 6-figure guy sitting in the room full of the 7-figure people, to basically literally but metaphorically sort of explain that. So for everybody listening, if you feel that way, I mean, there's a pathway here, but I'm here to learn from you guys too, right?
Thank you. And Derek, we're going to get you a, we're videoing it.
We're recording the whole thing.
So we'll get it over to you. And when
I think we got to leave that in. I think that was important.
You're not leaving that in. That's the first time actually leaving it. I don't give a fuck.
No, because
fucking care. You think I care?
The gears are turning. The gears are turning.
Humanize.
Derek, we love you, man. See you later.
Awesome. Have a good weekend. Take care.